This is 1.3. It's an optional artwork. And so you don't have to do it. Um, this is just for bonus points and also just for fun because, it's kind of just fun to mess around with these art materials. So today is an abstract landscape. So the image that you're looking at right now is a picture that I took um, um, at a little area close to my house, and this is what I'm going to use as reference to make my abstract landscape. Now, here is my this is where I'm going to paint, and this is like my work area. So I have a designated area, and you should work in a designated area where you're not going to ruin anything, right? So I have a piece of plexiglass down. You could have down some newspaper or some regular paper or like a tablecloth or something. You just don't want to. You don't want to work anywhere that if something spills, there's going to be a lot of damage. So I'll just go through my materials. I have a paper towel and I have this bin here that I'm going to use as a palette. This is just like an old container that frozen macaroni and cheese came in. I have another one that has some water in it that I'm going to use because we're doing watercolors. I have an eraser and a pencil. This is a piece of chunky graphite, but you could just use a regular old pencil. I have a couple of paintbrushes that came in the supply kit, some watercolors and watercolor paper. So to get started, I'm just going to grab a piece of watercolor paper out of this watercolor pad. Now in Edio, they tell you to tape it down, but I'm not going to tape mine down. And you can certainly tape yours down if you want, but I'm not going to tape mine down because you're supposed to leave it taped down until it dries, just to make sure that your paper stays nice and flat. But actually, I need to have my workspace back very quickly, so I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna make my drawing in landscape view, and landscape view means that the paper is wider than it is taller. This is portrait view, and that's the opposite. It's taller than it is wide, but landscape view is what I'm gonna use. So I'm just gonna do a very quick sketch with my pencil to get down the composition that I'm going to paint. Then move things around here. So my horizon line is the first thing that I'm going to put down. And my horizon line is a little bit higher than the middle. So I'm just going to make a line there. Not sure. That doesn't really show up very well. I think I'll have to make it a little bit darker so you can see it like that, right? And then more than halfway over, there's like a patch of grass. So I'm just going to kind of sketch in kind of like what that patch of grass kind of looks like. And then there's also kind of like a patch of gravel. There's just like an area that kind of looks like that. Hopefully you can see it. And then there's a mountain in the background, and that kind of comes in and goes up, and then it kind of just trails off. And then there's some trees and stuff like that, but I'm gonna put the trees in kind of later. The first thing I'm gonna do is just put in some general general colors. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put in kind of like the gray sky. Open up these watercolors and show you what you got here. These just twist open like this to reveal all the colors that you have. And this is such a great palette for me to use today because it has a couple of different grayed out muted tones. So I'm gonna kind of work with that. And I'm also gonna work with this bigger brush that I have just to get in some really broad strokes. So I have some water, right? I'm gonna take some of this gray and I'm just gonna do big washes of color. I like to kind of wet the paper, first. That gives you kind of the best kind of washes. And I'm gonna make it so that there's some kind of pattern, some kind of pattern to the sky. And then I'm gonna put just a little bit darker. I like this kind of like gray brown kind of tone here. I think we should all have the same exact watercolors. And I'm gonna just put really quickly in some of those tones. I'm not gonna wet the paper first because I'm just gonna let that color kind of seep in. And it's a pretty dark color. It's more than halfway to dark. So I'm gonna work on building these colors up quite a bit. That down here, I'm gonna just lay down the colors that I like, and then I'm gonna turn the camera off and work a little bit on those colors. There's some greens and some yellows in here. So I'm gonna grab some golden colors and just kind of like patch them in just to kind of make a little bit of note. Of what colors are going where. And then I'm going to go back in and make them much darker. Here's some greens. So there's a lot of greens in here. That's like the wrong color green, but that's okay because I'm just going to put it down for now. It's just a kind of like a note of where everything goes. And there's some over here. And then there's a field in the back here that's just like a caramel color. So I'm just going to I'm just kind of making notes of where things go. And then in here is kind of like a blue gray. So just to designate it separately from everything else, I'm just going to put down a blue color. All right, I'm going to turn my camera off. I just made some notes of how I'm going to work a little bit more saturated, bring these colors up to more intense, and then I'll show you what I got going on. So I got a lot of color down, a little bit darker tones. And because my picture is kind of much more like a rainy, cloudy day, I'm using a lot of really muted colors. And I'm just kind of putting, not trying to draw trees. I'm just kind of making marks that mimic kind of like how trees kind of look all wispy and stuff like that. So I made some general shapes of trees like this one right here. And then I'll just go into it and kind of make it look like there's branches kind of like running through it. So I'm gonna keep working like this. What I wanted to show you is just that I'm working very, very quickly. I'm not being very particular, right? I know that I'm making something that's going to be very, very abstracted. I'm not trying to make anything look realistic, right? That's like kind of like almost like the opposite of what I really, really want to do. I'm just going to keep working, getting kind of like darker and darker and until it all comes together. So I'm gonna turn off the video for a little bit and then I'll probably come back and show you what I got in a little bit, but the main thing is really, I just don't want you to spend a really long time on this. I just want you to keep just like kind of moving around the page until you get something that you like. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so I guess I've probably been painting for about 5 minutes or so. And what I wanted to kind of show you is just a couple of things. Like if I wanted to make this area right here darker really quickly, then what I could do is mix a color that's dark and then only paint in the lighter areas and leave the darkest areas that will then become the lightest areas, if that makes at all any sense. So that's a really great way to make an area darker quicker. Another way to make an area lighter really quickly is if I wanted to, let's say, like light up this piece of grass right here, then what I do is take some water, and even though this is almost dry, I can paint some water there and then take my towel and blot up the water, and then that area just instantly gets lighter. So I'm gonna put some kind of dark green back on there again, like how it was. And I'm just gonna bring that dark green up a little bit into the landscape. All right, so yeah, I would spend, 10 minutes, no more than 15 minutes on this optional drawing. This is just, having some fun and playing around with your art materials a little bit and playing with color and playing with the idea of abstraction, right? So that you're not you're not trying to make a realistic looking painting, you're just putting down like some weird looking shapes just to kind of give the impression of a landscape. So let me just go back really quickly and show you um, what I was working on. So this was the original drawing, and I took out all the fences because I didn't really want them. I just wanted the nature of it, and then this is kind of my finished product, which could definitely use a lot more color, except I don't really want to spend more time because this is an optional artwork. All right, guys, have fun, enjoy, and play around with your art materials.